Of course. I want to talk about a Horde night. The zombies have bugged out. Of course they have. Of course they have! You know what? We're just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna... Well, let's act professional. How many times has this happened? Horde night's gotten here, and you realize you forgot something. Let's get to that. I don't know. So, today's topic is all of the supplies you're going to need for your Horde night, plus some extras, tips, and stuff for the Horde night about some additional things you could have with you that will also help during your Horde. Things you may not have thought about, things that you probably should be carrying just for reasons of prevention. So, let's get to it. First up on our list are your absolute basic items. First thing you're going to need is an item in which to repair your base of any kind of blocks you have, whatever blocks those may be. If you're using a wood base for reasons unknown, you're going to need wood to repair those, and you're probably going to need some additional wood blocks in order to replace them. If you are doing like concrete, you're going to need some additional concrete in order to fix your base. If you're doing steel, you're going to need steel, cobblestone. You get the picture. Now, I would definitely say it's a good idea at certain points to have additional, not just the cobblestone, the concrete, or the steel. It may not actually be a bad idea to carry around blocks that are closer to the level of the thing that you have your board base made out of. Right now, if I was to have my base made out of concrete mix, I would probably carry blocks that are cobblestone. And if I had steel, I would probably carry blocks that are concrete. Just because, first off, if I accidentally lay down a forged steel block that is in the wrong orientation, it is going to be such a pain to get that block out of the way, particularly if it messes up my pathing for some reason. The others are going to be easier, they'll be a little bit quicker to break down. And I would assume that your level of breakdown item, your pick, your stone axe, or whatever, is going to be closer to whatever item it is that you're currently making your base out of. That's just a guess. So I would just say whatever your base is, go one step below and carry that type of block. So if your base is steel, carry concrete blocks. If you got concrete blocks, carry cobblestone. If you got a cobblestone base, carry wood blocks. Yeah, not the basic building blocks, but actual wood blocks. These wood blocks, they're actually solid blocks, because that means it takes less time for you to upgrade it from the point where it's at up to the point where you need it. So it's not quite as much chaos, especially if you're having to use like a stone axe to do repairs or upgrades. It takes a long time. So I would definitely recommend just one level below it. And then of course you need your weapon, whatever your weapon is, even if you're... This also takes into account if you are doing a Horde night and the weapon that you usually use for like raiding and everything else like that is not necessarily good for a Horde night. Say you're doing a single shot rifle. Well, a single shot rifle is not going to be very good for a Horde night until after you get up to the point where you're like in the sniper range and you're doing the penetrating perk and things like that. It might be better to set that weapon aside for your raiding and have like automatic weapon of some sort like that, a pipe machine gun, something like that. Easy to repair, throws a lot of bullets, at least for the beginning part of it. Honestly, the pipe machine gun is like a game changer whenever it comes to early game. But make sure you have your weapon, make sure you have your ammo, make sure you have some backup ammo, more ammo than you think, and then repair all of your weapons before the Horde night and carry some additional repair supplies. Also remember, not everything takes a repair kit. To also carry the thing that you need in order to repair whatever it is that you're using. Make sure you carry stone, wood, whatever else you need for your weapons at that time. And also whatever ammo. It's not going to do any good if you take 7.62 ammo but you don't have any weapons that fire 7.62. Make sure you have the right type of ammo. If you happen to have a robotic turret or robotic sledge, make sure you deploy those and that they also have ammo in them. Deploy your sledges in pathways where they can do the most damage. Right here on a side to knock zombies off is exceptionally helpful, or in a pathway as they're coming up. If you have it sitting along the side to push some of them off to allow you more time in order to fight the ones that are coming up is a great place to deploy those. And for the shooting turrets, having them sit right here along the side, or even up top to shoot down, or up top to shoot up at the birds. Any of them work. As far as I know, there was an update where the personal turrets didn't shoot the buttons on the demos. Now, once you get up to the demo range, I would say those weapons are probably not necessarily useful for a Horde Knight anyway, but use at your own discretion and make sure you've got plenty of ammo for it. And then, of course, make sure you repair all of your armor. Once your armor is broken, it is no longer protecting you. So make sure you repair all of your armor and, of course, carry extra supplies in case you get beat up during your Horde Night like I do, because I like to run with the zombies because I'm a weirdo. Make sure you repair them whenever you run up to your base to, like, heal up, make repairs, refill your stuff. Make sure you're checking your armor. There is actually an icon that will show up on the bottom left-hand side when one of them's close to or has failed. So just pay attention down there and you'll see whenever they break. Also, take all of your medical supplies. The highest tier medicine that you have is probably the kind you need to save for your Horde Night. So I would definitely save your first aid kits for the Horde Night. I would definitely save your plaster casts for your Horde Night and use your lower end ones for your regular runs and your regular raids. I would also say take food and water. The reason being, especially if you perk into, let me show you where the perk is. It's in Fortitude, and it is called Healing Factor. If you do put points into this, and I do recommend after putting 2 points into Iron Gut, and only after putting 2 points into Iron Gut would I recommend this, putting a point into Healing Factor, and what that does is your food and water basically become your heals. Whenever you eat and stuff, it will slowly absorb some of that food and water to heal your character. It's a very good thing to have once you've got some sort of food independence, and you've got the ability to not burn through as much food on a regular basis. So should you do that, if you get beat up during the Horde Night, you're going to go through your food and water, plus there's several medicines that I'm going to show in just a minute that drain your water. So definitely have food and water. There's nothing like getting like halfway through a Horde Night and suddenly your character's hungry and thirsty and your stamina dies out. Also, make sure right before the Horde Night to check all of your ammo is filled on all of your turrets and that your ammo is locked. If you do not lock your ammo into them, then you are not going to have any fire at all. I've gone through an entire Horde Night and couldn't figure out why my turrets were messed up, why they weren't working. I thought I wired them wrong, something like that. I didn't lock the ammo. So lock the ammo in. And also, if you happen to have a drone who has the robotic medic mod, make sure you stack her up with actual meds that she can use. There's one of the other medicine that I don't know that she can use. It's either the bandages, or it's the first aid kits, or she can use both. I keep getting mixed signals on this, because like sometimes she'll use them and sometimes she won't. I don't know why she won't. I think it's kind of a bug that happens every now and then. So either stack her with both, or test her very well before sending her into battle. Also, she can get downed a lot during the Horde Night, especially once the cops stop firing. You're going to have to be able to fix her, so make sure you take some repair kits. And don't necessarily stash the repair kits on her, because if she is currently surrounded, you're not necessarily going to be able to get into her inventory. Make sure you have the repair kits on you. That's all of the basics. Very, very quick, very easy. Additional things that I would say are good for a Horde Night is the Learning Elixir, which gives you an XP gain. If you take 3 of these, it will mostly get you through an entire Horde Night. That way you don't have to carry an entire stack. Also, the vitamins, taking 3 of those will get you through nearly an entire day and nearly an entire night, and it's a very easy way of taking care of any possibility of an infection on the backside of a Horde Night when you're wanting to go raid. You don't want to deal with an infection. I should know. You don't want to have to deal with an infection. And then, of course, you might want to have stuff to take care of an infection in case you get slapped with zombie spit and it just gives you an infection for no reason. You might want to have something to heal that up if you didn't actually take your vitamins, because vitamins not only resist disease 100%, as in you will not catch a disease, it will also make it if for some reason or another the food that you had to take along with you has a possibility of dysentery. Say for instance, it's really early game and you don't have the ability to make any decent food. If you have to get those sandwiches, they can cause dysentery. Eating a vitamin beforehand, while you still will lose the health on it, from what I understand, you will not get dysentery from it, so that's at least a little bit off of the problem that it causes. Steroids. Now, it's fun to have the steroids for after the Horde Night when you're trying to look through all of your loot that you don't get on the base game. I would definitely recommend having a mod that allows you to get a little bit of extra loot. It's ridiculous. But also steroids, whenever you take those, if you have a broken arm, broken leg, broken something, you cause your character possibly to make it take it longer to heal. And from what I understand, don't quote me on this because I've actually done testing and I think it might have been changed. I did testing during my last stint at doing all of these things, and I have found that no matter how much I tried, when I had a sprain, I couldn't cause it to break. It used to be when you had a sprain, if you continue to use whatever it was, it would cause it to break, and it would take even longer to fix. Now, there's a really good chance if you get battered enough, it will immediately go from a sprain to a break anyway, so having a steroid on hand to allow you to run and not damage a foot more, or to do bigger swings during a horde night and not damage your arm more is a good idea. Plus, you're having to carry all of the extra healing that you don't normally have to carry. You're having to carry all of the extra meds that you don't normally have to carry, that whole 9 yards. Plus, you're probably running around picking up loot, and this will actually help. But just remember, this also, aside from giving you the run speed and a plus 50 on your carrying, it's a negative 30 to your water, which is another reason why I said make sure you carry water during a horde night. Plus, we have the Mega Crush, which gives you a plus 50% run speed and stamina regen and 60 water. These are amazing for horde nights, particularly if you like to stay in your base and you don't want to run with the zombies. Just being able to get down there early night to be able to recover some of the loot that will despawn inevitably before the end of the horde night, eating one of those, popping some heals or something like that to preemptively start healing you because you know you're going to take a little bit of damage, running down to grab all of the stuff, and then coming back upstairs. Between this and this, you can get all of the loot and keep yourself like really, really engaged in the horde night, in my opinion, when you're running around doing all those things instead of just standing inside a horde base and shooting. Then we have got Grandpa's Moonshine. Now understand, there is a book that allows you to drink beer and you will not get intoxicated, as it were, as it will not give you the visual problems. Grandpa's Moonshine actually bypasses that. You will get it regardless to whether or not you have that book. But it does a 400% melee damage. So whatever melee weapon you're using, it helps. 100% stun resist, which is really, really good. And it does a bit of healing. It does some stamina regen, which is a really good stamina regen. But it only lasts for a minute. So about the whole time you're using it, you've got a visual problem that is going on, which cannot be bypassed. So I never use this one. It's really cool, but I have a problem with the visual thing, so I don't use it. And then, of course, you've got the regular beer, which does brawl damage plus 300%. And this one is melee damage. This one is specifically brawl damage, hand-to-hand, knuckles, that kind of thing. And it gives you the stamina, the stun resist, which is also pretty good. And you can read a book. There it is, Bar Brawling number 7. Drinking no longer blurs your vision. Read the book. Okay, and I'll actually just test a beer to show you that it does in fact work for a beer. There we go. No problems here. I'm going to go ahead and turn on God mode to turn that off, so it won't be whether or not it stacks. Okay, then we had that. So, I do apologize for those of you who have visual problems like I do. Warning, don't look at the screen, I'll tell you when it stops. Just listen to the illustrious sound of my voice. So it doesn't matter if you read that book, this particular drink is going to mess up your vision regardless to whether or not you have that book. It is a very good drink, sadly. Those of us who can't actually stomach seeing this can't use the drink. So, okay, it's fixed. You can look back at the screen now. So there you go. The bar brawling does not work for the moonshine. It does, in fact, work for the beer. I've got a couple of other drinks over here. The blackstrap coffee, the coffee. This one is just to say that there's quite a few drinks that do a whole lot more on the stamina regen. And I would definitely make sure that you check... And first off, the cold resist on this one, if you're doing a horde night in the snow biome, the blackstrap coffee is the one you probably need to hold on to. The regular coffee doesn't have that. There's also a smoothie that does really good for stamina regen. All of those are really, really good over water. On their stamina regen, if you're doing melee, I would definitely make sure you go through all of your drinks to see which one's going to give you the best stamina regen and take that one with you. We have got Fort Bites and Recog. Fort Bites do damage mitigation, really, really good one, and it does negative 20 on hydration. This one lasts for 6 minutes. And rain damage, you get bonuses to your rain damage, 50%, your ranged damage. I think I just said rain damage. Ranged damage. Let me enunciate words. And it's also got a negative 30 on your water. So make sure if you're taking these, which are very good, and there's not really any side effects, like you won't become addicted to them. You're not going to have vision issues whenever you take them or anything else like that. So these kind of are freebies as long as you've got the water to compensate. And you can use these and take, I don't think these guys stack. Hang on. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So you could probably take a couple of them at the very beginning of your Horde night and hydrate up. And I would still say hydrate before you go in. But you can hydrate and then you'll have those for the entire Horde night. I'm pretty sure the other one works about the same way. So this one, let's see. And that one's got the bullet thing and it's 6 minutes. 2... 3. Okay, they stack 3 tile. Alright, so between the Fort Bites, the Recog, and I think the Learning Elixir is probably about the same way. You can only stack 3, which is probably a good thing because you're going to see the hydration just like really, really drop during those times. So you're definitely going to have to watch those. Remember, if your hydration and stuff like that goes down far enough, it will actually start damaging your character. After your hydration reaches 0, your character is going to start taking damage. So make sure you have something for those, but you can stack them and get through an entire Horde night. We have the candies that may or may not be useful depending on the type of character you're playing. First off, eye candy specifically for at the end of your Horde night whenever you're looting. Now, granted, this is just a +5. It's not going to put you into going from getting an AK to an M60. It's just not going to do that. But if you're over like a little bit of, I don't know, if you're like in between 2 different loot groups, you might be able to use one of these to put you over the top of that. Plus, if you put in stuff for Lucky Looter and things like that, you guys... The cats are scaring me. They're bouncing all over the place today. It's like they are going bonkers. So this might help a little bit. It's not going to help a lot. I personally do not invest in eye candy because for me it's not really worth it to try and remember to take it along with me. But if you're trying to squeeze every little bit of it you can and you just happen to have a little bit of extra money, you could buy yourself some eye candy. The bigger raids where you're doing like tier, I don't know, 4 and 5 POIs, tier 3s maybe. I probably wouldn't use it on a tier 3. But a tier 5 and tier 4 main loot is a better use for the eye candy. I don't think the loot that you're going to get at the end of a Horde night is worth taking one of these because those bags just really don't have a good loot. Well, a good loot pool. They really don't. So, I mean, you can use one of these and get a little bit extra, but I've got this one in there specifically for that. It's not going to help you during the actual Horde night. Now, for the other stuff, the health bar. It has armor crit resist, natural crit resist healing, as in if you take critical damage, it will allow you to heal that critical damage faster. If you mess up your arm, if you got an abrasion, or any of that stuff is going to allow those things to heal faster, and they do stack up to 3, and you have a max health bonus of +10. Then we have Skull Crushers, which is also a melee damage of only +50%. As you remember, the Moonshine is a +400% on the melee damage, and the beer is a +300% just for brawling damage, but this is all melee damage, and it's a +50%, and you don't have to worry about your vision going bad. And then we've got the Nerd Tats, which actually is the way in which you get the shock AoE, area of effect radius, meaning 1.2 blocks around the bad guy that you hit. It will shock them, and if you have the stun repulsor mod, it will eject them back as well. So this is a really good medicine, particularly during a Horde night, or even if you're just like running with zombies and you've got a horde of some sort. And then the Atoms Junkie, if you are an explosives expert, or if you are planning on running explosives during your Horde night of any sort, this one allows you to get more explosion bang for your buck, as it were. I would be very careful about this one in particular because, as you can see, it says explosive damage +50%, but it also says explosive block damage 50%. So if you're using this and you're using certain types of explosives, you could accidentally take out parts of your base. And then I just threw this one. This one actually doesn't really go necessarily for the Horde Night. Specifically, say you get into a brawl, your horde base fails, and you're pretty high up and you need to evac very quickly. Having something for fall damage is actually very good. That means you're not going to break your leg, you're going to be able to land and run as quickly as possible, or whatever else. Not every single base is going to require one of these because you're not going to be up high enough to have to worry about it, but it does last for 6 minutes, it does give you a little bit of food, and 100% fall damage resistance. So if you're having to repair your base, evac from your base, you're running zombies through town instead of actually building a base, this would be really good in case you actually get pushed out of a building by the zombies. So that's the reason why it's included here. But that is it, I would say, that you are probably going to need for a Horde night as far as supplies go. There's probably a couple of extra things that people in the comment section are going to say, I packed this during my Horde night, or I packed this. So if you happen to have any items that you definitely... my character's fidgeting, that you definitely will never go your Horde night without, I would love it if you would post it down there in the comment section and share the reasons why you put a particular thing in your backpack every single Horde night. It would be awesome to hear about those, and maybe we all can learn a little bit more about the Horde nights and how to prepare better for them. I would also say, there goes the hydration. That took a little while. That was several minutes into it. We've got, let's say, 5 minutes. It was 18 minutes to start with, and my water is at half now. So, yeah. If I was in the middle of fighting and my water hit that would suck a lot. There we go. Something else that I also think is extremely important for Horde night, I would say having a good drop box somewhere, just a box where you put all of your Horde night supplies, would be a good idea. Say you don't put your Horde base where your house is. Some people don't. Some people are like, you don't poop in your house, you just don't do it. So therefore they don't put their Horde base along with their base. And some people like to combine them because they feel like if their Horde base fails, they lose their entire base, and that's more of a reason to invest a whole lot of effort into making sure that the zombies don't demolish their base. They put extra effort into making sure that that base will stop the Horde. Whereas if you have a Horde base that is away from your base, all you have to do is evac your base and run. If things go bad, you're not losing anything, there's nothing on the line for it. So depending on which camp you fall into, depends on how you're going to prep a base specifically. Namely, if this base is out in the middle of a field and there's nothing else going on, if I come out here in the middle of the Horde and I am running late, I don't want to have to run all the way back to my base to get all of my supplies, so I would probably have a box sitting inside of my base with all of these supplies gathered up through the week and stashed in there. That way, during the Horde night, all I have to do is go by, pick everything up, and I'm ready to go. There are a couple of other things. Aside from just having your weapon and everything, one item as far as a tool is that I would say you definitely need to have is a pickaxe. You don't necessarily need any of the other tools. You're not going to need your wrench, you're not going to need your shovel, most likely not going to need a shovel. Say that part of your base collapses, like a piece right here collapses right there, and it actually leaves that little triangular pile in the middle of that. That could actually cause a huge issue for you during your Horde because the zombies are not going to stop. They're going to stand on top of that and start beating through the top here, and they could actually get on top of your base. So if you don't have the ability to break the block that has formed right here, you'll have to jump down, go around, run the zombies around, run across here, break that little piece, and then run back around, run back up, and replace this, and you can go back up inside your base. But if you don't have a way of breaking that block to get it out of the way, it's basically nullified your entire base, which is the reason why I said out of all the tools that you take, the pickaxe is definitely the tool that you should take. Even if you have to dig at dirt for some reason or another, the pickaxe will eventually work faster than a shovel will work on a block. So yeah, out of all of that, I would say that is basically it. Out of all the things I can think of, now it's hard to be 100% certain that you are ready for a Horde, but that's a pretty decent sized list of things that you should consider having for your Horde. In the next video, we are actually going to start covering some of the blocks and stuff that you might want to use for this middle section, and some changes you might want to make for this section and this section. We're going to actually go over a few base designs that could be useful, might be your style, may not be your style, and a couple of other variations that you might find useful in this style Horde base. Plus, we're going to start talking about the electronics for a Horde base and the traps for the Horde base in the upcoming videos. I think it's time we start focusing specifically on the Horde. for the next couple of videos, and then we're going to get back to some of the other basics of raiding and everything else like that. I will see you guys in the next video. You have a wonderful day and night, and you stay shiny. Bye!